Hello, and well, a very good evening to you. It's day 24, and we're still here,
Yes, we're still here.
which is great. And thank you for joining us on this. What day is it?
Thursday.
Easy to lose track.
No, and easy to lose your mind as well, being locked and locked down still.
So, as I say, day 24 of our lockdown. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great. It's a real pleasure to have your company tonight for our fireside chat. We're going to be doing these every single day ish. Sorry, I didn't do yesterday, but I was otherwise engaged. But we're doing this most days from now until the end of time or the lockdown, whichever comes sooner.
Hopefully the lockdown.
And who knows? Here in the UK, our government, our venerable, respected government, has just announced that we are going to be on lockdown for another 3 weeks. And my suspicion is that we're going to be on lockdown for a bit longer than that as well. But, it's all to the good.
All to the good. And today's highlight for me was doing a is a high intensity interval training with Joy Weeks. So I did one session, my first
that
session.
guy.
Yes, I did the exercise, felt the energy, and it's very, very good. And David fell asleep.
Absolutely, but as of right now, the leg goes up in the air, and we'll be doing this for the next hour, and it's sort of mentally perhaps. Hello, Tobias. Very nice to have you with us this evening. Hope things are going well for you during this sort of lockdowny period. Another Colchester fellow. There's a lot of Colchester fellows out there, whose origins were because you can take the boy out of Essex, but you can't take Essex out of the boy. That's what I always say.
Ah, now I get it.
That's my saying. I'm sticking with that. So, so we had one of the old press conferences on the podium. Hello, Ross. Good to have you with us this evening. And the big takeaway from the guys on the podium was sadly that we're going to have another 3 weeks of lockdown. I think it'll go on for a little bit longer than that, but we shall see. We shall see. I look at the numbers every day as a kind of mathsy, geeky sort of fellow. We did see, and hello, Esther, thank you for joining us today. We did see a bit of a jump in the UK's figures, but out of the last 7 days, we've had 5 days of the numbers going down. So overall, it's good, but we can't, relax just yet. We can't let down our guard because there's a case in point that my very good friend Joanna sent me about a place called Hokkaido in Japan, where they had they were one of the first places in Japan to declare a state of emergency. They had a good old lockdown, and on the 19th of March they lifted their state of emergency, and things started to get back to normal, and schools reopened and because they'd gone down to sort of 1 or 2 new cases a day. Magic. But it's only part of the thing, and so now they've had to declare a second state of emergency because those numbers started climbing up again. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that game Whack-A-Mole?
No.
Oh, so kind of. Well, the idea is that the mole's popping up, and you have to whack it on the head, then it pops up there, and you have to whack it on the head. And I think it's just a child's game.
I thought you meant guacamole.
Oh dear, there's a Mexican in us all. But anyways, that's what it's like. And you whack it down there, it pops up there, and so forth. So, coming out of these lockdowns, and I understand in about a week's time, according to Lincoln Sturgeon, we're going to be explaining that whole process of how it's going to work here, because we can't stay at home forever, come on. And a very good evening to Peter. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes.
So, as we emerge from this thing, what we need to do is we need to check and test people. We need to test like mad, which is the way to keep this under control, and that's what they weren't doing in Japan there. You test like mad because you reduce the number of cases to this, and then you go around and test and test and test, and every time you find a case, you do contact tracing, which we'll be able to do soon on our mobile phones for those of us who've got them, and you alert people. and then you can keep it under control. And all we're doing, come on, all we're doing is we're buying some time where those clever, terribly clever scientists and folk are finding all manners of ways to treat this and deal with it and blah, 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 blah. And that's all we're doing here. We're just sitting at home waiting for the great and the good to sort us out. Good evening, Anita. Thank you for joining us this evening.
10,000 cases that are looking to test a day. Is that right?
There are all sorts of figures being bandied about,
tests.
but we need to test. What we need to do, which ain't going to happen. There's a scientist who's a bit idealistic, perhaps, and he said last week that to keep this under control and to sort of banish it forever, you need to test 10 million a day. But I doubt we'll test 10 million. There is capacity in the labs to do it if our people could pull their fingers out and get themselves organised, but they just won't be able to do that. They haven't been able to test 25 people as yet. I'm exaggerating slightly, but that's what it would need to really get back on track. And the economies and the countries that are doing this are scoring major successes. And if our leaders could watch, I don't know, CNN or Deutsche Welle or whatever, they'd see what other countries are doing around the world and they would follow suit. So we're seeing a bit of a yes minister at the moment. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of claptrap coming from various podia from representatives, but they're not doing a badge to show that you're a carer. Come on, let's have some money. Let's have some masks. Let's do something tangible. Gaia, thank you for joining us this evening on our sort of lockdown special. And the bad news is that you're going to have us for a bit longer because as of today, the government has extended our lockdown here for at least another 3 weeks. We have pledged to be on most nights, except when we're on somewhere else, streaming something else. We'll be here, doing our usual cheery routine. And we established, didn't I? I'm Laurel and you're Hardy, or the other way around, I can't remember. Whatever. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, because every day we have a sort of 2-minute conference before we go on, and we did this a couple of hours ago. And what did we say we were going to talk about tonight?
About fake news.
Fake news and the fakers who fake it. These people sort of disseminating all sorts of rubbish online.
We have to be very aware because there's so much information going out there that we don't know what's true and what isn't true. We just seen a video of a politician that is not, and we are sure is faked. Completely fake. So
I was doing a couple of lives yesterday. Sadly, not on my public timeline with Irma, but I did one in the afternoon. And there's this guy, he goes on there and he's saying, "Oh, what virus? Fake something, something, something," and then he blocks me on Facebook. So kind of these people sort of have interesting ideas. Julie, thank you very much for joining us, Julie Dawn. Good to have you on board. But anyway, we came up with the idea of talking about fakers today because in terms of this virus, actually, it's actually dangerous.
Yeah.
If people tell you if you gargle with vinegar or something or eat more garlic or something, you're not going to get coronavirus, people are going to believe that. People are going to do that, and they are going to die. So we really, really, really don't. We really endorse every effort.
We need to be very selective.
Sort out this absolute sort of rubbish that is sometimes out there. Well, to start with, and I think this is good. Facebook is going to start harming users. No, Facebook.
Harming?
Excuse me. No. Mark Zuckerberg, let me go. Facebook is going to start warning users who engage with harmful information. And that means if you like or share or comment on these posts, I always comment on these posts when I see them just to say, look, that just ain't true, because I think you're doing a public service if you do that. I think we should all do that. Good evening, Emma. Thank you for joining us this evening. So, it's pretty straightforward, the old coronavirus thing. Wash your hands. Keep 2 meters at least away from people and don't go out too much. So that's just 3 very simple things that is going to keep. And there's lots of esoteric rubbish going around. I had one friend who was very, very vociferous at the beginning of this, saying it's all nonsense. I'm going to go to my 75th birthday party and blah, blah, blah. He's gone very quiet now. But good evening to you, Emmanuel, and hello to Cleo. It's good to have you on board as well, Patra. Now, here's the thing. We need to get the right message out. We need to tell the truth about this. We need to fess up and we need to be honest. So Facebook's going to flag all these posts, and it's going to be a big job. But they've got actual third-party humans helping out to flag up some of the rubbish that is spoken about this virus and things. And one of the things they've suggested to us as users is, by repeating these silly lies and everything, you kind of reinforce them at the back of people's minds. So they're saying, start your post with, "This is wrong, it's not true, don't." Do eat garlic, it's lovely, and it keeps the vampires away, and we know that, and all that sort of stuff. But it's nothing to do with coronavirus. So they just say, start your post with, garlic's great, but doesn't help in this kind of thing. And the extraordinary things that I've seen, and some of these things have had 250,000 shares and all this kind of thing, and people still come back. They PM me with stuff that's wrong, and I always try to reply with the correct stuff. This evening in the old diary, I was actually down to do a live with my very good friend Dr. Michael Brooks, who is he's Chief Medical Officer at a company called Patient Source, and he's an emergency medical doctor. He's got a degree from Cambridge Uni in medicine. He's a very, very smart guy, and I spoke to him about a month ago about this, and we released this onto Facebook. It had 5,500 views, and we are looking to do an update. But I came up with some more questions this morning, and we're doing a little bit more research because we want to present facts, and more facts and nothing else. We realise that there are grey areas at the moment where the science is a bit controversial, where people don't know enough, and if that's true, we're going to say that. But I came up with 25 questions. We're going to try and work through these. I do strongly advise you to join us. Hello, Paul. It's great to have your company this evening. I was just mentioning how I'm going to be making a video over the weekend. Now we've postponed it to Saturday. It's going to be on Saturday afternoon with my very good friend Dr. Michael Brooks, and AE and what do you call it? A&E. That's the one. The medical specialist. He's been he's on this front line now, fighting this virus. He's done some shifts in what they call the hot zone. He's going to be talking about this. He's going to be talking about the myths. He's going to be talking about the facts. He's going to be talking about the latest information that we know now. And if it changes again in a month's time, I'll ask him in again, because there's nothing, all the sort of lies and rubbish withers away in the spotlight of truth.
Yeah, and it's an important thing to know. I mean, it's knowledge, research, and practice, isn't it? Coming from that interview that you were preparing with Dr. Michael Brooks.
Absolutely so, absolutely so. And according to this, celebs, influencers, and politicians with big followers on Facebook and things bigger than me are distributing some of this nonsense, and that shouldn't be good. That isn't a good thing. Isn't a good thing. There have been baseless claims by actors and others, and also celebrities who claim that the royal family are lizards or something. So people who've got a track record of rubbish have been coming out and saying there's a link between 5G and the coronavirus pandemic. That is monstrous rubbish, and it's not even science fiction at its most imaginative couldn't come up with nonsense like that, because one is a kind of radio wave at high frequency. I'm not sure that I'm particularly in favour of 5G, but that's another story for another day. And I'm definitely not in favour of coronavirus, which is a little buggy thing, which is not even alive. It's just a little bit of RNA with a blob of grease around it that came out of the chip wrapper and a few spikes in it. And don't take that as gospel, and don't repeat that, because that would be sort of fake-ish news. But it's just a blob that gets into our cells and then explodes the cell and creates a lot more blobs, which then explode a lot more cells, and so forth. The Brazilian president has been playing down the scale of the crisis in the face of scientific evidence. This has attracted a lot of criticism, and according to something I was reading earlier tonight, the chickens are coming home to roost. They are starting to bury a lot of people there now, because they decided it was business as usual and carnivals and this kind of thing when they should have been in a lockdown. We were a bit guilty in here in the UK as well. We had a stereophonics, a huge stereophonics concert, which I think was in Cardiff on March 14th, when everybody should have been staying at home. But the consequences of that are playing out now. What we do today affects us and our loved ones and everybody else in about 3 weeks' time. About 3 weeks down the line is when they see the sort of consequences of it. It's not a huge time frame, is it really? That's where we are. And the Donald was saying things. He was saying it's nothing to worry about, and then a couple of days later he goes, well, yeah, actually, sorry, it is.
The Donald.
the Donald, the hairstyle, that POTUS,
Donald.
that
Okay.
fella, you know, and so there have been some and yeah, because of social media. Oh, and you played me this on what you got on WhatsApp as well, a fake voicemail message purporting to be from someone who worked at the ambulance
Yes, that's
service
right.
with all sorts of claims and everything, which was total nonsense. By the time luckily, by the time we went to listen to this a second time, somebody had deleted it. But you know, why do people do that? It's just so unhelpful. And another time we saw some guy in scrubs that he'd probably sort of nicked out of a bin or something. I don't know if you remember that. There was a video of some guy who was kind of quite breathless, repeating silly claims that purportedly come from Harvard or Stanford or.
We have to be very selective as to what to listen to and when we pay attention. I mean, we are in a fantastic opportunity to reset again, and I keep saying that word, reset ourselves with our lives, and come out at the other end with a different perspective of who we are and how we're going to introduce ourselves to new people, to the same people that we've been connecting now on social media. So very selective as to what you put into your mind, and very selective as to what you express as well.
So hello, Michael, and hello, Darren. Thank you for joining us at home this evening in our living room for our usual nightly rant, or rather mine, and because Ian was quite passive and normal and good and all everything that all the positive adjectives, and I'm just the guy who waves his arms a lot and rants. There have been now publicly issued, according to the BBC, some guidelines for police on what we can and cannot do. So you know, this is all good, and we're allowed to, for example, if we've had a bit of a ding dong at home or whatever, following arguments at home, we are allowed to move to a friend's address. But not for half an hour, for a couple of days. So it'd have to be in a really big ding dong with fireworks and all sorts of stuff, which is perhaps, you know, helpful. There's a 5-page document, what constitutes a reasonable excuse to leave the place where you live. And I think, you know, common sense needs to be applied. There have been a few occasions when common sense hasn't been applied, like, you know, one police force said they were going to look through your trolley coming out of the supermarket to make sure you hadn't slipped a couple of luxuries in there along with the food. I mean, that's just absurd. And you know, that this was backtracked. Another police force. Good evening, Lubna. Thank you for joining us. There was another police force that went up in a helicopter to take a photo of a woman picking daisies in a field about 4 miles away from the nearest person to name and shame her. These things are silly. What we need to do is stay away from each other, wash our hands a lot, and basically stay home whenever we can. Don't go on our 50-mile drive just so you can do a 5-minute walk around the beach, and that kind of thing. So it seems that in each of these categories that we have, like shopping or providing medical help or exercise, there's been a definition now of you know, what is reasonable, or indeed for our business, which, as I think I mentioned yesterday, a guy who obviously thought he was a key worker was trimming some hedges in the development opposite, but he was on his own, so I guess he wasn't doing any harm. But you know, the definition of key worker in that sense, I mean, you know, so the hedge gets a bit overgrown. But you know, and I hope he wasn't being furloughed at the same time as doing some work, because rather curiously, you're not allowed to do that, which seems a bit kind of strange. But you know, I mean, you can see the government's thinking, because there might be otherwise fraudulent claims where people would be just getting the government to pick up the tab for their business. So you know, you can see it. You can see it. Growing vegetables scraps on windowsills. Hey, we haven't done that yet, have we?
No, that's something to try.
But I think we should probably do that. There's a thought.
Yeah. I want to still grow an avocado tree.
Do you think 3 weeks is going to be long enough?
For what?
To grow an avocado tree.
No.
Damn. So, well, we'll have to hope that they extend the lockdown a bit further, then, won't we? Really?
Yeah.
But
no,
no,
I'm
we
just
don't.
looking forward to the other side.
Simple pleasures, just going for a walk. You know, just you know, everything that used to be kind of normal. I posted a little poem on my Facebook timeline today, which. First of all, it was purported by a very good friend of mine, Adam, to be something that was written 50 years before the 1918 pandemic, and then was republished in honour of that and this kind of thing. So I posted this poem, and then I read later down the thread, and he said, "Oops, it wasn't actually. It was something somebody wrote about a week ago." So I left the post on my Facebook, but had to sort of rather hastily re-edit either side of it, and red faces all round, I guess. But if that's the worst fake news that I get involved with, then I think it's fine. Driving for a prolonged period with only brief exercise would not be reasonable, according to the police guidance. Well, if we do a sort of 12-hour round trip to Glasgow in order to take a 3-minute jog around the town square, then I think we would deserve to be in handcuffs and led away and all that kind of stuff. So
well, I think you can still do plenty of exercise at home. Like I said earlier on, I did a high intensity interval training with Joe Wicks this morning, and it was awesome. And it's fun. It's fun. You just really challenge yourself. Of course, I didn't do it as strenuous as it looks. I just took my time because I'm a lady of a certain
I had
age.
to duck. All the legs were flying around. All the books were falling off the shelves with all the vibrations and everything. It took me the whole of the afternoon to put them all back. So,
and you fell asleep because you were so tired of seeing me sweating.
Did actually, but that's another story. And this is the story. The breaking news story of the day really is that I've been we do things that are a bit eccentric during lockdown. So I had these 2 500-gram tubs of peanut butter. Well, basically, orangutan friendly, no palm oil in them. I would hasten to add, and I basically finished the lot in 3 weeks. And hello Sarah, and I've gone and given myself a peanut butter allergy, which I'm really peed off about because I love peanut butter. So the whole arm was getting red and all this kind of thing. So
you still have some on the arm.
I'm sure I do, but anyway, and I'm sure in many other places too. But not happy. I'm not a happy bunny because I love my peanut butter, and I had to give up my jams and jellies and all that kind of thing for various other hypochondriacal reasons, and so I've got to eat something.
But not peanut butter anymore.
What can we do? And I'm losing all this weight. I got such an exciting shock this morning because I got on the old bathroom scales, and I was 92 kilos in the summer of 2017. And today I thought I was down to 66 or 7, but it turned out I'm still at 70 kilos. But still quite a lot of kilos to lose without being one of these strenuous iron pumping kind of gym kind of people. Because when you understand the science, it's dead easy to lose weight.
I think you are okay.
It's dead easy. I haven't got an app on my phone that counts calories. I don't do all this exercisey stuff, do I, every day? I don't do 50 push-ups or something. I've never been a member of a gym, blah, 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 blah. But I managed to lose all that weight by understanding, how we put the weight on and how we get the weight off and where the weight goes when we lose it, which is, if you want to know, listen up, you breathe it out. It sounds completely ridiculous, but and I'm not making this up. There's a video on the internet where a scientist explains that, and he exhales into a balloon, and then he ties it up, and he pours liquid nitrogen over this balloon and freezes the contents. And what you get is a little liquid thing at the bottom, which is the oxygen, and some ice cubes floating inside, which is the CO2, and that is that the bulk of what we lose when we lose weight is exhaling. Of course, we have to do a bit of exercise to actually loosen that from the old belly, but once it's floating around, that's where it goes. And it wasn't traumatic to lose all that weight, was it? You didn't know me when I was that big.
No.
But you've seen photos. Not a pretty sight, not a pretty sight. And with the old COVID thing, one of the comorbidities, one of the things that puts you at huge risk is being 92 kilos. So now the new Slim David. So it's the business, I'm very pleased that I accidentally did this. Some great news today in the Telegraph. There's an Italian great-grandmother who recovered from coronavirus on the same day as her grandson, who is a little toddler, and they've got a great picture of the two of them together, which is ever so nice. She is 102, and what he's 2. So there's 100 years. This is a wonderful, wonderful story. There's 100 years separating these two sufferers from this virus, and there they are, and they both recovered on the same day. That's a real feel-good, good news story. It's a super story, and she lives in a very tiny village in the northern Piedmont region, and she's one of the oldest people in Italy to survive the virus, and she remembers all kinds of things, the Second World War, and her name is Nana Nina. That's a great name.
Oh,
That's a great
Nananina.
name. And she raised lots of kids, worked as a postwoman, delivering letters on bicycles, and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a wonderful, heartwarming story.
I think with this lockdown, we have become to appreciate really the simple things in life are really what are worth living for, and just sharing and being grateful for every single day that we have here, because we are still here. Do you have anything else to share? Oh my
I
God.
do. Captain Tom, which is not Captain Jack. That's it's a character in Doctor Who, and a song by Billy Joel. Major Tom. He was a character by David Bowie in that song Space Oddity. But here we've got Captain Tom. Captain Tom Moore. He is a 99-year-old military veteran, and he decided that he would walk 100 laps of his garden to raise £1,000 for the National Health Service, which is it's a wonderful gesture. He's walking along there with his Zimmer frame in his garden, and he's got a military escort standing on either side of his garden. Now why? It's because he caught the public imagination. This fellow. This is such a lovely, lovely story, and it kind of got reported on the news, it spread through social media, and people started donating. And if you haven't donated, this is all for the NHS, please go out there and do it. The amount of money that he raises just goes up and up and up. And at the time of as of a couple of hours ago, as of an hour ago, 700,000 people have donated to the NHS on the basis of his 100 laps. He's completed 100 laps of his garden now, as he said he would, and he has raised £15 million for the National Health Service.
That is such an achievement.
It's a wonderful,
such an achievement.
wonderful story, and to do that at the age of 99. So we're never too old to make a difference in life. Go out there and well, don't go out there, but in a metaphorical sense, go out there and do something, but do it from at home. Okay.
Yeah, it's just fabulous news. There's a news that are worth sharing and really make you feel very humble, and make you feel human, and make you understand that it doesn't matter how old you are, if you have the good intention to do, if you have that attitude of service to people, you come up with brilliant ideas. Even if you pick up the phone or pick up a Zoom call with someone that you haven't spoken to for a long, long time, this is the time to make that connection and to nurture it. Just so you can, I don't know, start planning what are you going to be doing, what treat are you going to give yourself once we're out of this lockdown. Perhaps going on a spa day with a very good friend of yours, or something nice and special just to celebrate being alive. It's just a wonderful opportunity for really, really renew yourself, reset yourself, get your values, and introduce yourself, your new self to the world.
Absolutely, totally. Hello, Kishen. Thank you for joining us. We're just talking about Captain Tom, who at the age of 99 did 100 laps around his garden, and to date he's raised £15 million for the National Health Service. Just one old fella walking around the garden. There's been a petition for him to receive a knighthood, which has been signed by more than 300,000 people, and the Prime Minister has said that he'll certainly look at some way of recognising him. And he's given a thumbs up there on this little picture.
Beautiful.
This is on the BBC website. This is on the occasion of completing his 100th lap. That's the magnificent.
Which makes me think, David.
Captain
A lot
Tom.
of people, more so in our nervousness about having a gold or some kind of photo that's going to inspire you or something like that. So if you were to have a photo of him in my wall, that would be such an inspiration.
Oh.
If I ever feel bad about or worthless or that kind of feeling that sometimes we get from time to time as humans,
Yeah.
that is such an inspiration. Doesn't
It
matter
is.
how old you are. Doesn't matter. You have a good intention of service. Just go out and do it.
Yeah. Whenever, I totally agree. Whenever I'm feeling a bit down, which happens from time to time, I read a story from my mentor. So maybe we should start reading one every day on this thing, starting tomorrow.
We could.
Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that. And because he had an extraordinary life, which he lived to the age of 98. and his life predated. Hello
15.8
to
million.
Kevin, who's just joined us, and Kevin says he's just checked, and in the last hour, it's gone from £15 million raised by Captain Tom to 15.8. This is
And it's still
a
rising.
wonderful thing that he's doing there, and we're very much humbled to see people out there doing such marvelous things.
That's a life worth living.
Absolutely. Make sure that
Cinema
your
Hero.
life is worth living. We've got time to think about this now, haven't we? We've got another 3 weeks to look at every aspect of our life and to make sure that we're living life to the full. And if collecting matchboxes is your thing, maybe there's something else you can do, or whatever it is that you're doing as your core activity. Maybe there's something you can do that will benefit all our fellow humans as a whole. Let's see how we can get on.
Yeah, even if it is for yourself, you can do it for yourself. And so long you're happy, I can assure you one thing: everybody else around you is going to be happy, because happiness is contagious. It's probably as much as a virus, and it's for a good thing. So stick to that. Find yourself amongst the noise of this lockdown.
Yeah. Now Germany, who are much more ferocious than us in locking it all down and so forth, and who have been much better than us at testing. We need to test everybody, and then we won't get it, and then we can know people who are walking around without symptoms who've got it. We can tell them to self-isolate. Blah 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 blah. Germany is going to start reopening shops from next week. So although they will tell people to go out with masks, and the reason you go out with a mask, okay, is not to protect yourself, because the germs can get in around the side, but it's to stop all your coughing and breathing and everything from infecting other people, and you might not be showing any symptoms, and some old granny might pass by you, and you might breathe on her, and she might die. So come on, let's there's every reason to wear a mask. And you can get them in huge quantities from all those from that guy who's suing Donald Trump at the moment. He's got a lot of them on his website, Jeff. Right. So yeah, well, let's not go into there. EasyJet are thinking about ways of implementing social distancing once we're all heading off to Torremolinos again. And the idea that they've come up with is to leave the middle seats empty, so you just go window or aisle.
Very good idea.
So that's good, isn't it?
That's a very good idea.
I think so all credit to them, and and this guy Captain Tom, as of this morning it was only 12.4 million, so it's just kind of up, and that's better than a hand clap. I mean, it's great that we go to our windows and we applaud our heroes and so forth. I think this evening we were applauding the carers, but even better is if my dad used to say, put your money where your mouth is. So even better, which is a kind of well-known hackneyed expression, but even better is to go out there and do something and make that real difference.
And have you heard anything from I don't know, from our Prime Minister? Has he said anything lately?
From our
Prime Minister is still on lockdown.
well, he's been a little bit under the weather, shall we say, and so it's understandable that he would be sort of taking a back seat at the moment. He's made it. This thing, on day 14 or whatever, somewhere around there, either kills you or you get better. But if you've been quite ill, then it might take you a week or two to recover. And Boris is known to be quite a driven fella, and they had to sort of drag him away from his desk screaming to get him into that hospital, which is the reason why he was so ill in the first place. And now you can imagine he'll be chomping at the bit to get back on duty. But it's probably going to take a week or two.
Yeah, it needs to be fully recovered. That's one thing.
And he's told the chaps what they're supposed to be doing. So if they damn well get on there and do it, then rather than talking about doing it, then everything will be pretty damn good. Now, I was looking this afternoon on the advice of my friend Rupert at some data from the Office of National Statistics. They are using data for those of you who are geeky like me, and today I was looking at the number of deaths from this, because you can't. That's not something you can hide, really. That they are the gold standard for all the figures they put out and what they show. There's this debate. Well, did this person die of coronavirus or didn't they? And did they die at home? Did they die in a care home? Had they been tested? Da 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 da. But my friend Rupert came up with quite clever suggestion that if you compare the 5-year average of deaths in this particular week with the actual figures, that this was for the week ending the 5th of April, then you get a pretty good indication. You can see whether it's higher than normal or less than normal. And it's about 60% higher than normal. So these directly or indirectly can be attributed, I think, as a result of this pandemic. It might be people, who couldn't get that ICU bed because it was full of corona patients. It might be people who are due to have some routine surgery that didn't happen because a lot of the operating theatres now are turned into basically temporary makeshift ICU wards with ventilators and beds in them and so forth. So it might not be a direct cause. It might be somebody who was really stressed out by it all and had a coronary or something. But we can say that there's a significant impact to this thing. We can also say, at the point where we went into lockdown, which was like 3 weeks ago, every 3 days, the number of deaths and therefore cases and blah, blah, blah was doubling. So, and being in lockdown has, at the very least, it's flattening that curve. So Lord knows how, if 3.5 weeks ago we'd still been mooching around, these numbers would have been going through the roof. And this has allowed the National Health Service, the wonderful professionals who work in the National Health Service, to more or less keep abreast of it. They're struggling. Let's be quite clear, they're struggling. But we're not, having people dying in corridors or anything like that. Or the situation that was in Italy, where they were just deciding to, if people were over 65, they were just sort of sedating them and letting them pass. We're not in that situation. So being at home here is making a difference. And, like, saving lives by sitting at home and watching Netflix is just like absurd, isn't it, really? So it's not like we're being asked to do kind of very much, and we're here to cheer you up every evening and to cheer ourselves up as well, really, because I think we'd have both been pretty grumpy if we hadn't been doing this every day.
We've had our days, we were up and down like everybody. It's just so many emotions that we need to really keep on the watch, because if we let our thoughts talk to us.
But it's a very, it strengthens you, doesn't it? When in adversity, you're either going to kind of fall apart or stick together. So we're all right.
Yeah.
Touch wood. There it is. So there's a hospital in Southampton, University Hospital, which has been giving patients laminated messages from the family and friends, which have been emailed in. And the idea of laminating it is then you can wash them in soapy water.
Oh.
Because you ever tried washing a piece of paper in soapy water?
No,
I don't recommend it. Okay, don't do that with the wedding certificate or the school grades. The past grades or anything. No. Don't recommend that. Or Christmas cards or anything. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, anyways, this is quite a nice kind of thing. And in Wuhan, weddings have resumed, and there've been couples where this whole thing allegedly started. Couples have been rushing to register their marriages and have their wedding photos taken. Probably not many guests, so they'll have to Photoshop them in after.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would probably be the answer.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
Having a virtual wedding, just you and your husband or wife or whatever, and just invite the friends and just put them on a Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be nice.
So our friends who work on the oil rigs, this is another type of key worker who are kind of lubricating the mechanisms and keeping everything flowing. Some divers on some of the rigs in the North Sea have gone 110 metres down. That's a lot of separation under, well, not ocean, but sea. And they've held up some placards underwater saying, "Thank you, NHS," which is a very nice gesture.
Yeah.
Very nice gesture. And
everything helps. Everything helps because they are our men in the ground and women in the ground, soldiers, and it's not just the pressure of trying to help every single patient that they get. It's also the pressure of themselves. They're not properly protected because they don't have proper equipment. They need to sometimes have to dig out the old stuff from the basket because there's nothing else, and there's a patient that they need to treat. So by staying indoors, we're just reducing that risk for them and for us, and for humanity.
Yeah. And Pret a Manger and other food stores are available. They've
Oh, very
partly
nice.
reopened some of their shops near the London hospitals. They're giving a 50% discount to NHS staff, which is a terribly nice gesture, I think.
Very nice images.
And they've pledged to donate 7,000 meals a week to homeless charities as
Oh.
well.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that is
Wonderful
super,
news.
super news to bring you on this Thursday evening. We've got some many kind of good stories coming in the world. Some false news. Hopefully, we stamped out the false news with our false news ometer earlier. But we saw a video of Donald Trump on your phone just before he came on.
Yes.
It seems like you've seen some pretty outrageous things, even for him, shall we say, without
Yes.
taking sides or anything. But then we could see that his head was kind of slightly moving, sort of like that, not in the way that you'd expect. So it pretty much looks like a sort of fake news thing. These fake news videos are very, very, very sophisticated nowadays. And just before our election in December, there was a fake news video which was put up there specifically to demonstrate this technology. It was Jeremy Corbyn saying vote for Boris, followed by a clip of Boris saying vote for Corbyn. But this was put up by one of the organisations that's lobbying for there to be more clearer sort of oversights on this kind of thing, it's good to be aware of this. That some years ago Hollywood would have had to spend an enormous amount of money in post production, special effects, and everything to do these things. But now you can just do it on a laptop.
Yeah.
And
apps for everything.
who is sending what to whom?
It's the royals said thank you. Letters to hero Captain Tom Moore, 99. Yes, the Duke of Cambridge and his stepmother, the Duchess of Cornwall, have both written to the Captain Tom Moore to congratulate him on smashing his NHS fundraising target.
That's wonderful news.
Yes, big shows for them to fill.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So basically the thing that we need to concentrate on right here is what do you think about having a positive mental attitude and being upbeat about things and it's kind of not normal to be home and to feel guilty about opening the front door, is it really? Except when the bailiffs are about to come in and take all the furniture, then you hide under or the TV licence man or something like that, then you hide behind the sofa. And but other than that, and or the Daleks, I used to hide behind the sofa from the Daleks when I was a kid because they were scary things, and they were only in black and white as well, and quite clearly made out of cardboard with some old car parts and things. The flashing lights on their head came from a car called the Morris Minor, which was quite popular in those days. And that obviously, look, I don't want to shatter all your illusions, but the Dalek's arm is actually a lavatory plunger, and at least certainly in the early models, that's what it was. It was that thing you stick down the loo, and
A Klingon, I suppose. Clean one, yeah.
Well, I don't know. There's one very early Doctor Who film where the Daleks are coming slowly up a ramp out of the River Thames. So I should imagine that one's probably all covered in sludge. The purpose for which it was invented. But on the whole, we're adjusting to it, aren't we? And can I announce that from next week we decided that you're going to be doing something a bit different in the evenings, didn't we?
Oh, yes.
We did. And what are you going to be doing after we do this?
Okay, well, it's a passion of mine. What happens is when you go through life, you have to learn to become resilient. Otherwise, you just get taken down. So it's about mindfulness in kind of and just deep dive in your thoughts and just trying to master them and let you help to face life in much a better way. Few little techniques that I've learned along the lines and. Well, we're looking forward to that. Absolutely so.
And there are lots of ways, aren't there, in which you can engage with yourself, really. And would I be right in saying that it kind of starts with self-discovery, really? The journey to becoming a better person starts with knowing yourself.
Yes, that's right. Basically, it's to nurture our new behaviours and considering the people around us and the impact that all this might be having in them as people. We all have mental situations that we have to learn how to cope and how to manage, and there is a lot of uncertainty out there, and people perhaps living alone that don't know how to cope and just get into these very dark places. So one way to help is just to say that they're not alone. We are all here.
So maybe you can do this for us before we meet tomorrow. We'll do this, and you do this. Make a list of 5 positive words. Hello, Letitia. Thank you for joining us. We're going to make a list of 5 positive words, and we'll share ours with you. We'll have 5 each, and you share yours with us tomorrow night. That I think would be quite a nice starting off point, because the vocabulary, the way in which we couch things, certainly has an influence, and those who are tasked with influencing us choose their words very carefully. And it can, the same event, depending on how you describe it.
Yeah, I think our passion is about helping others one way or another, and this way is of helping ourselves to keep sane, and hopefully to give you a good share of our thoughts and David's rants.
And don't watch the news more than twice a day, not at the moment, because some of it's quite kind of gloomy. And if you watched it, see, there are these rolling news channels now, which is normally fine, because normally it's just a vicar opening a fete or something like that. But when it's all a kind of news about a pandemic and everybody's hiding and all this kind of stuff, then I would suggest you ration yourself to, like, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning or something, and maybe 8 o'clock at night or something. In the meantime, think positive thoughts. Go out in the garden if you have one. Our garden is slightly smaller than a postage stamp, but we're going to try and grow a cress seed on it at some point, perhaps. But yeah, it's not a huge garden. But my dad had a huge garden, so he would really have been in his heyday right now. It was 3/4 of an acre. And it was so big that he had actually a ride-on lawnmower that you could sit on and ride it around. And at one point he borrowed the farmer's sheep to chew up the grass and all that kind of thing. But this backfired a bit, because they had an appetite for the bark on all the apple trees and killed a lot of them.
Oh.
So then we had to send the sheep back again with a bit of a telling off.
What else do we have in news?
We're onto the sort of final bit of the hour now, so I think we've run out of kind of news stories, and we're just talking about sort of more general things, like focusing on positive things, because there's the thing about paradigms, isn't there, that we have our sort of worldview that we build up. Part of it is the influence of our parents, part of it is the influence of our peers, part of it is the way that we interact with the world around us, and we have to actually build a sort of framework into which all these random bits of information that come our way, we can hang them up. And Yoko Ono had a tree in Cambridge, didn't she, earlier this year? So it was. Doesn't time fly? And it's quite a nice idea, really, because you could write down a little thought on a bit of paper and hang it on the tree. These trees were covered in hundreds of little bits of paper with people's sentiments written on them, right, which I thought was ever so nice. So when we've got this basic sort of worldview, and it doesn't really, unless you really make the effort, it isn't really going to change over the course of your life. And then various facts come along, and facts for which there's no place to hang them on your little tree. They just, but things that reinforce what you believe sort of cover this whole thing over the course of your life. So it's quite hard to change course in our lives once we're kind of set in our ways. But we could try and nudge ourselves a little bit over to the sort of positive side of things, I think.
Yeah. When it comes to relationships, in our case, what we found is that we both have, of course, different upbringings, not only cultural, but also within our parents and our family homes. So when we came together, we had a bit of a different, obviously, personalities and behaviors that for him would be tremendously natural, for me would be none,
and vice versa.
And vice versa. So we found that being together 24/7 under the same roof it wasn't a challenge. We just found ways of really discovering and discuss and really understand that we have got different filters. So we're viewing or looking at life with different filters. So what we've done now is just clean our filters kind of thing, and just kind of emerge anew in our own way of thinking,
Oh, yeah,
understanding
yeah.
each other, and you have helped me a lot. I must
Likewise.
say.
And this is like kind of, sitting down with a therapist of an evening for an hour every day or something. Only A, it's free, and B, we've got a few friends in here sharing our sort of cathartic experience. Hello, Sarah. Thank you for joining us. But it's actually been very helpful for us. And we hope that some of the positivity that's coming from us in your direction is also sort of helping you, because we know that there are some people who are going to be in lockdown at home. Like Mrs. Bruce Willis, for example, which we were talking about the other day while he's off cavorting with his ex in pyjamas.
But she's with her husband.
Well, that makes it even worse, doesn't it?
No. They're just
that's
civilized people.
Just the way it goes. But anyways, let's not dwell on that.
Can I just share this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this I have a little book. Well, many books as you can see behind.
One or two.
It's the little book of wisdom from the Dalai Lama. It says, "The more you give, the more you receive. The more we care for the happiness of others, the greater is our own sense of well-being." Isn't that a lovely thought to practice every day? To wake up and just be grateful as well for that, for being living.
Absolutely.
Alive?
Can I? It is.
Oops.
It is. It's a great, a great sentiment. Can I just say something that is a bit outrageous that one of the big supermarkets did? They're not one of the big four, but it was very, very, very naughty of them, and they put this on their website. That any member of the so the MHS are keeping us alive. They're doing a wonderful job under very difficult circumstances. Captain Tom, breaking news from my very good friend Rocket Kev, is now on £16 million. So
Wow.
as soon as this broadcast ends, or even before it ends, I want you to get out there and just give a little something, whatever you can afford. This is just too good to resist. And wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, one of these supermarkets, probably in about the bottom 10, posted a thing on their website to say that any NHS workers who touched something in their hallowed store would have to buy it. What an outrageous thing. And as soon as somebody spotted that, obviously it was immediately deleted from the website. And quite outrageous. What we need to do is have a sort of 2-hour window when these people can get in and we can't, and really roll out the red carpet to them. But that was an absolutely extraordinary insensitive comment and policy, which is now happily no longer in force at this very, very difficult time.
Mm-hmm. It is indeed. Oh, new guidelines on why you can leave home, including cooling off after
We dealt with that earlier, so that after you've had a bit of a ding dong, you're allowed to go off and let off steam for a while, should that be necessary, but preferably do it in the garden. Preferably, now my friend Fiona got a bit annoyed because 6 plane loads of Romanian fruit pickers are going to be flown into the UK for the lockdown harvest, which with everybody on furlough is perhaps a little bit surprising, because when you're being furloughed by your employer, you're allowed to do other work. Or when your uni has sent you home until October, you're allowed to do other work. But we need to bring in 6 plane loads of people from another country to pick all our fruit and veg.
Yeah, but what kind of precautions are we going to get against the coronavirus?
Well, their rate of infection is lower than ours, because we're not doing very well because of our delay in doing the old.
Well, I hope the poor things don't get infected here then.
Well, absolutely no. There are a fair number of of cases there too, but yeah, and are we really interested in what Sky News tells us about how Big Brother stars of that horrible, ghastly reality show Big Brother tell us about how they're handling yet another lockdown? I think we can pass on that. So yeah, we're going to be with you. I don't know whether it's good news or bad news. We're going to be with you then for at least another 3 weeks. So at best, we've reached the halfway point in our daily outings. At worst, who knows when it might end. I'll be coming in a Zimmer frame like Captain Tom to finish these hourly lives in a year or two, instead of bounding up the stairs to do them as we do now. I probably mentioned that one of the things I did a while ago when I decided to start losing weight was to move myself into the furthest area of the house away from the kitchen, because I used to, my bedroom used to be right next door to the kitchen, and I could sneak in and out and have a Mars bar or something before you could, and other snacks are available. But just almost in mid-sentence. I could go into the kitchen, scoff something and come back again. And so now that's a bit harder because there's a flight of stairs.
Yep. And on that note?
And on that note, do we have a final thought?
Yes, an optimist.
Okay.
This is an optimist. Is a person who travels on nothing from nowhere to happiness. Simple formula.
It's wonderful. It is a very good. It's quite difficult to shut me up, but I think that's quite an inspiring thought on which to Oh, we've got to say hello to Edward, who's just joined us this evening. How are things in the west of England? Kevin says the Biggin Hill Heritage Hangar has taken to Facebook to thank Captain Tom for his services and extend an invitation to him. He's a World War II veteran, to visit their site and to have a ride in a Spitfire. It has also raised the possibility of even arranging for him a 100th birthday flyby, 100-year-old birthday flyby.
That's the list we can do. Yes, hopefully, yeah.
That's such a beautiful thought from a wonderful, inspiring fellow who's shown that it is never ever too late in life to make a difference to the world, to do something good, to bring people together. And I think, if every single day of our lives moving forward, every day when we wake up in the morning, start looking for those opportunities to help people, to make the world a better place, to bring people together. Neighbours have come together wonderfully. We've got a WhatsApp group on our street where the neighbours keep in touch with the most vulnerable, and we share ideas and thoughts and this kind of thing. And a month ago we were all complete strangers, as is the case in many streets. So I really hope that some of these initiatives that have come about because of the bad situation that we're facing will move us forward in the weeks and months and maybe years ahead to bring sort of a feel-good, the feel-good thing that's been missing for so long in our country, to bring it back. And I think I said this a while ago, during the Second World War, neighbours used to get together and everybody was helping each other during the Blitz and what have you. And certainly in London, this community spirit continued for at least 10 years after that had ended. So we've started it. We've opened some doors. Let's open them wide. Not until the lockdown finishes, but let's open them wide and let's encourage people into our homes, into our hearts, and into our lives.
David, what was that formula that you mentioned about helping 5? Is it?
If we went out there, I mean, we're going to talk about this later on, but there's this story about the fella who invented the game of chess. It's probably one of those urban legends, but the king was so happy with this game, hopping around on the black squares and white squares and knights and what have you, that he said to this guy, well, look, what do you want? I'd like to give you a reward for this terribly fabulous game. So the guy says, look, this is all I want. He says, just put 1 grain of rice on the first square, then 2 on the next one, 4 on the next one, 8 on the next one, 16 on the next one, 32 grains of rice on the next square, just up until we get to square 64. So the king says, harmless old fella, right, okay, we'll do that. But the power of doubling. And by the time you've doubled 64 times, the number of grains of rice that the king owed, and rice was a commodity in those days, that the king owed this inventor, was more rice than there was in the entire kingdom. And that's why coronavirus is very dangerous, because every person who get it, according to the very latest studies that come out, might infect up to 6 other people. So 1, 6, 36, because my head isn't clever enough to think of the next number. But, this is why millions of people are getting affected around the world. We've had more than 2 million infections. So what if we could harness this way in which numbers grow? This, we call that the exponential growth. What if we can harness that for the good by doing good stuff? So what if each of us makes a commitment to go out there and help 2 people, completely selflessly, completely random, do 2 random acts of kindness, and ask these 2 people that you help to in turn help 2 more people? And it doesn't get very long. It's not very long before we've changed the world, if everybody does this. So that's just a little thought.
Be generous. Excellent.
And stay safe.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
And with that, we take our leave from you. Thank you so much. We're honoured that you would spend some time with us on this
We're very grateful.
Thursday
Thank you.
evening. Tomorrow night, I guess, we'll be back. And the night after, with a bit of luck. So let us have a wonderful, peaceful evening. If you're sort of home on your own at the moment, special thoughts go out to you. It's not forever. We're probably at about the halfway point now. So there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's getting closer and closer and closer. For us, from us, for now, it's a very good night. But we hope that you will be able to join us once again tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, then Saturday. So take very good care from us to you. Very goodbye.